Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Varrix and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight Beginner's Guide. In today's video, we will be discussing and going over one of the more in-depth and somewhat more complicated topics in Dead by Daylight. Today, you're going to learn how to escape through the hatch in Dead by Daylight. A bit of basic knowledge before we get started here. The hatch is an alternative escape method to the two exit doors located on the sides of the map. However, unlike the doors, the hatch spawns inside the map, hidden somewhere. However, it only opens after all but one person is killed or you have a skeleton key. More on the key later in the video. Once it is open, it emits what I would describe as like an angelic humming sound. I would demonstrate it, but I'd probably do a bad job. So anyway, now we have the background out of the way, let's set up the scene before we begin. Obviously, if you're wondering how to escape through the hatch, it goes without saying that the killer is either really good or your teammates did obviously not meet your expectations. In this situation, you are the last one alive. Basically, you have two options. One, you could go up and finish 3 more generators alone with the killer following your every move and hope that you can escape through one of the 2 doors. Or 2, run around the map and hopefully find the mythical mysterious hatch. If you're like me and hate doing generators, it's pretty obvious which one to choose. First things first, we need to find the hatch, right? The hatch is an entity on the map, just like the gates, which spawns in one of many pre-selected locations on the map. The thing is, however, unlike the gate, there are many more different locations the hatch can spawn in. Basically, the hatch can spawn in pretty much anywhere it likes. However, through my experience, especially on maps like Coldwind Farm and Autohaven Wreckers, I find that the hatch tends to spawn near monuments much more often than just in a field somewhere. Don't worry, I know it seems like, I gotta go check all these locations while the killer is looking for me. It's okay, let me walk you through a basic checklist to fill out while you're looking for the hatch. So number 1, you're going to want to check the main monument on the map. In many maps, there is a large structure in the center of the map. For example, the coal tower on McMillan Estate, or the gas station at Autohaven, any of those big things, or the asylum on Crotus Pren. These places, in my opinion, tend to spawn the hatch within much more often. After that, go check the smaller monuments around the map. These include combines on Coldwind Farm, the machinery and cranes on Autohaven, as well as things like the little boat on Backwater Swamp. Basically any unique things that isn't a set of walls, a jungle gym, or a field. Oh yeah, also, don't forget to check things like the killer shack and hills. The hatch loves to spawn on hills. Speaking of jungle gyms and fields, that's where you're going to want to check next. If you went through all the monuments looking for the hatch and didn't find it, this is where you're going to look. I apologize. Have fun looking through the grass and countless jungle gyms. Alright, here's a couple of tips whilst you're out looking for the hatch. Unless you know where the hatch is, don't sprint around looking for it. The killer is searching for the hatch too, and it would be terrible if they happen to cross your scratch marks instead. Simply, instead of running, take a deep breath and walk around checking locations. In the case the killer finds the hatch before you do, it's going to be terrible. He or she will most likely stick around that general location. While I'm not necessarily telling you to always head towards the killer's heartbeat when the hatch is unlocked, sometimes it comes in handy. If you come up upon the hatch and the killer is already there, standing in front of it like he stood when he was face camping the 3 survivors before you, you have 2 options moving forward. Basically, what the killer is trying to do is bait you to run forward and try to jump in. What a lot of survivors don't know though is he can actually just interrupt you and grab you out of the hatch. To avoid this, you can 1. Wait for the killer to get bored of face camping the hatch by playing the waiting game with him. Sit near enough that you can take advantage of their moving away quickly, but not so close that you're visible for the killer if he was to turn around. One word of advice, don't forget about the crows while you crouch behind that tree. Otherwise, if you're feeling more daring, you can 2. Approach him and hope that he attacks you, stupidly allowing you to jump into the hatch while the killer is recovering from an attack. Be warned though, this strategy generally only works against newer killers, as many killers know this tactic already. If you try this against a killer worth their salt, they'll probably stand there looking at you, waiting for you to jump. Don't jump, for the love of God, don't do it! What you have entered into is called a hatch standoff. Like a Mexican standoff, the 2 participants basically wait for the opposing party to get bored and give up. This can work, but for me especially, it gets boring really quick. Hopefully though, you'll be able to find the hatch before the killer can. Alright, one more thing before I go, the key. All of the keys, besides the broken ones, can be used to manually unlock the hatch after it spawns in on the map when there's 3 generators remaining. Basically, once the hatch is on the map, you can, with your key, track it down and open it. This action consumes whatever key you are carrying and opens the hatch for 30 seconds. While this strategy works, personally I wouldn't recommend it because leaving so early in the match kinda just screws over your teammates. Additionally, you are generally left with a few blood points compared to the more you would have gotten if you'd stayed in for the entire match. I would say stay away from this unless you're surviving with friends and coordinate a whole group hatch escape, which by the way looks really cool. The killer's like, what happened? What happened? They're all gone. Alright guys, that just about wraps up my guide to using the hatch in Dead by Daylight. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Remember, if you find this thing entirely too difficult, you can always just bamboozle the killer and go for the 3 gens instead. See you all in the next one. Peace.